would not be the same. Few people laughed. Few people cried. Most people were silent. I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds."
Hey guys, Robert and Ingrid here, as we're back now doing the Millennium movies, as we go into Godzilla vs. Megaguirus.
Hoo boy!
Yeah, hoo boy indeed. This, well, let's get the obvious out of the way. All of these movies have been saying only the first movie happened, but this one decided to take a what-if approach.
Mm-hmm.
What if Godzilla didn't die? Now, they don't explain why he didn't die. I guess maybe Shirazawa didn't exist here. Maybe he didn't make the oxygen destroyer. They never say. They just simply say he lived.
Mm-hmm.
And we see a world where Godzilla lived, and he's going after a nuclear power plant. So what would Japan do? Go green.
Mm-hmm.
Naturally.
Yeah, and I do like how that was sort of like they got that in the setup right away. It's just like, hey, we're going to look at this in an alternate scenario, so hey, sort of play along with us and sort of see what we're going with here.
Now, it's not like it's like a radically different universe or anything.
Yeah, it's just different enough in a way that's plausible enough for you to say, okay, let's go along with this.
Yep.
And it's like, it started out okay, but then it just it just sort of slow burnt and sort of stewed and became any right that it seemed to be. Better than it seemed to have any right to be.
This girl here really likes the main girl.
Oh yes, to the point where I didn't notice her name while watching, but I went on Wikipedia to actually look up her name. Major Kiriko.
Yep,
basically, her deal is that we're shown in the opening shots that her commanding officer got taken out while fighting Godzilla. She keeps his dog tag, and basically her whole motivation there is to pick up where he left off, climbing in the ranks of the self-defense force. And she is great to watch throughout this entire thing.
Oh yeah, definitely. And, well, let's also say this. There's some insanity in this. This still has, it's mostly a high side in a lot of its trappings. But at least it's like they do go Showa in their ambition. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah, I can sort of see what you mean by that.
Like their big weapon, a black hole gun!
Like, it sounds kind of ridiculous, but it's like, you know what? I can kind of excuse that since we're sort of working off the premise that they would have been looking for alternate sources of technology and, well, you would have discovered things accidentally going down a different path.
Exactly, but...
And that sort of world building actually was pretty interesting to see. Like, hey, because Tokyo was destroyed, we moved the capital to Osaka, and stuff like that.
Yep, now if there's one little thing I would say to nitpick about is, they never explain why Godzilla no longer leaves a radiation field in his wake when he walks. Because if this is that Godzilla, that's the only one that had that trait.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where everything he walked would become a ghost town because of the radiation. So who knows? But yeah, basically while testing these, they end up creating a monster. which would eventually be Megaguirus. And what did you think about Megaguirus as a monster? Did you feel he was worthy, or do you think he was superfluous?
I feel like it's kind of a bit of column A, a bit of column B. It sort of feels like a bit like Biollante, and where the circumstances that created the monster feel a lot more important than the actual monsters themselves, though I do kind of like the scientific explanation and universe that they gave that, oh, this is like making this more like a more ancient species of dragonfly that was a lot more vicious back in its day.
Definitely. And I would also compare a little bit to Orga from 2000, where, you know, like, it's there for the final fight. I mean, we get more than just one fight here, but it feels like Godzilla is still the main threat. In fact, this is one of the few ones I think where you have Godzilla as the main threat, then you have an additional threat at the same time.
And you get to watch the humans kind of work on managing both of them.
And then getting ready to be like, okay, let's get the opportunity and take it down. And they do! For a while. That ending was an ass pull, I gotta say. Wouldn't you agree? The post-credit sequence?
Yeah. The actual finish before the sequence, that was brilliant.
Oh yeah, everything. You're just like, yes, as the satellite's coming, you know, burning up. You're like, you got one shot at this, otherwise, no good. And the look on Godzilla is how defiant it is. He's just like, no you don't, roar! Like him shooting that breast, I'm looking at him as him roaring defiantly at it, like, take me now! Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely.
So, I mean, is there anything else you want to bring up about with this movie?
I feel like sort of mentioning more on Kiriko. I really liked that they showed that she had a lot of range to her character. Like, she's first got a pretty solid motivation and backstory. And there's like two interactions in particular that really seal her character for me. The first is when she's talking to the kid, Jun, and her interactions with him, where he's just like, hey, it seems like a little weird that there's a woman in the self-defense force. What are you doing with that? And he's just like, hey, my commanding officers went up against Godzilla, and I went up against that too. It's just like, that's a question that could have easily, like, provoked the hair-trigger temper, but she's just like, hey, this is a kid. I'm going to explain this calmly. And then later on, you see her with this politician who founded the Godzilla Defense Force or whatever, who's clearly extremely self-important and seems to be willfully blind to a lot of the destruction that's happened. And what she does, she smacks him upside the face and called him a bastard. And
exactly.
Yes, it's just like, she's like,
if it's a kid, she'll hold back. If it's an adult, oh no, they should know better.
It's just like she's got a good compass in there that's sort of like guiding her actions. And I feel like it's kind of funny how we've been finding all the strong female characters in these kaiju movies that most people dismiss as silly, but it seems to actually be a pretty consistent trend.
I know, Kiriko, Miki, the girls in the Gamera Heisei movies. Not the Showa ones, unfortunately. They didn't have many, and there were a few in Godzilla Showa, but again, not as much.
But it's just like, hey, maybe more people need to watch these movies for that reason. Yep,
and, well, I would agree with, and I would give this a higher rate. I would give this almost like an 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah, that's sort of roughly what I was thinking. There were sort of some silly bits and a few like continuity things, and obviously the
biggest one
was overall really strong.
Oh yeah, I mean the biggest one. Let's just get out of the way. They come up with these plasma generators that's supposed to be Godzilla has no interest. He's had no interest in them before. Then all of a sudden he's interested in them just so they can have an excuse for the climax. It's like, what? Why is he interested now? What, did he just develop a taste for plasma or something? And it'd be fine if they were shocked, but they weren't shocked.
Yeah.
They rolled with it, like, what? But overall, though, really enjoyed it. And like I mean, it's one of the better ones, but I would not call it the best. Mostly because we still have GMK and the Kiru movies to go through. But it is better than 2000, I will say.
Oh yeah, definitely better than 2000.
I mean, 2000 wasn't bad, but let's be honest, 2000 was like, it was when you had to get the ball rolling. All right, well, we'll see you guys on the next one as we go over GMK Giant Monsters All Out Attack. We'll see you then.